Is MMA safe? Yes. Obviously it's a relative thing. Certainly when the UFC first came to the public eye, there were calls of human cockfighting and it's terrible and it's pugilistic and it looks scary and brutal. But when you actually look at it and break it down, if you compare it to something like boxing, now with boxing the guys have got great big padded gloves, and that's not there to protect the opponent's jaw, that's there to protect their fists. And in terms of the number of strikes that happen to the head in a boxing match, I mean it's hundreds and hundreds. And as a result of that, the brain gets jarred about in the head, and over time that can cause brain damage. I think we've seen Parkinson's and that sort of thing, possibly. So, you know, boxing, there are deaths every year. I think in MMA to date there's been 1 death. And the reason for that is simple. In an MMA fight, there are less strikes to the head, partly because the gloves are so much thinner. If you've got thin gloves, there are going to be less strikes before there's a knockout, so the fight's going to be over without someone taking strikes after strike. Also, the targets are all over the body. You can be attacking ankles, knees, elbows, shoulders, throwing knees to the ribs and all these sort of things. So if you like, the attention is diluted all over the body. And obviously there are lots of rules now in MMA. Since the old days of UFC 1 and the old school Vale Tudo stuff that happened in Brazil, lots of rules have been introduced, and now it's pretty safe. Certainly in amateur rules, there are head guards and no knees and elbows allowed, but even in pro rules, the referee has a particular mandate, and he has to jump in and stop the fight the moment the guy that's being punched stops intelligently defending himself, or after so many strikes he'll actually jump in and stop it anyway. So although we're talking about joint locks and chokes and strikes and all those sort of things, there's not as many injuries in MMA as you think. Now obviously it's not a game of real chess or checkers, and there are injuries here and there, but serious injuries are few and far between, and that can only be good for the growth of the sport.